Ah, my Firenze, oh my Firenze, what a beautiful city thou art. It's my fourth visit. It's still not enough. There's so much to see and never enough time. The Ponte Vecchio is the focal point and as always crowded with dumb Americans buying so commercial type jewelry. In the center, there is the bust of Cellini, one of Florence's most famous goldsmiths. I'll let you in on two little secrets of the 24 differently named jewelry stores on the bridge. They are owned by only two owners. The second is that all the coral now comes from Japan, as the Mediterranean coral is all played out. I did but find one piece of jewelry which stood out from all the rest, from the sort of vin ordinaire or plonk. This ring was about $2,500. On the upstream side is the Uffizi, the county offices and museum on the third floor, while the rowing club enjoys a vine-covered terrace from which to watch the practices and races. Firenze is on the Arno River. For the most part, tourists see and stay on the cathedral or Duomo side. Those in the know stay on the other side of the Arno, or Oltrarno, with its Pitti Palace and custom jewelers' ateliers, as well as other artists' and artisans' workshops. I stay at the Hotel Pitti Palace, right plumb next to the south end of the Oltrarno side of the Ponte Vecchio. Directly across from my hotel's entrance is the beginning of the upstream side of the Ponte Vecchio. It's the Manelli Tower, now owned by the fashion designer Armani. The three small round windows are those of the semi-secret yet famous Vasari corridor. More about that later when we visit the Pitti Palace. This friendly penthouse breakfast room is a cross between a continental one and a full-blown American. You can have fresh fruit, juice, rolls, toast, butter, marmalade, jam, boiled or scrambled eggs, tea, coffee, or espresso. You can take it outdoors and eat it overlooking the Arno, the Palazzo Vecchio, the Uffizi, or the Duomo and the Palazzo Vecchio. From the inside, you can see the Manelli Tower, or the local rooftops of the neighbors. My good friend Gian Andrea, I call him Dunque, has the breakfast room and bar concession. He's got a great sense of humor. He calls me Allora. It's an inside joke. As you look at this photo, the Manelli Tower is in the far left corner of the photo. Coming directly forward is the Ponte Vecchio with the Vasari corridor on its second floor. On the right, in the foreground, just a block away from the Ponte Vecchio, is my jeweler, Ugo Piccini. His vertical sign reads, Piccini Ugo. My gorgeous and vibrant sales lady, Sabrina. She's a bit of a blur because she's always on the move. She sold this American couple some standard stuff, with the charming Ugo himself looking on. I had to have something in gold from Firenze. She sold me a simple chain-link bracelet. I tried to take her out to dinner, but she said her boyfriend wouldn't like it. I offered to shoot him. Still no go. She was a lot of fun and very professional. I shall miss her as she's no longer with Ugo. The next adventure in Renaissance art is a short 10-minute walk from my hotel. Follow the white dotted line along the Borgo San Jacopo that becomes the Via di Santo Spirito. Finally, it makes a sharp left into the Piazza del Carmine. Our destination is the Church of the Santa Maria del Carmine on the far side of the piazza. The facades of many Italian churches are unfinished, either because they ran out of money or the powers that be couldn't agree on who should do it. Now, gorp at this fantastic fresco. The church was built in the 1300s. The chapel was commissioned by Pietro Brancacci in 1386. The patron of the pictorial decoration was Felice Brancacci, a descendant of Pietro, who had been the ambassador to Cairo till 1423. He was the one who hired Masolino di Panicale to paint the chapel. Masolino's associate, a 21-year-old Masaccio, assisted, but did so well Masolino left and the commission was given to Masaccio. Unfortunately, Masaccio was called to Rome, leaving it unfinished. After his death, Filippino Lippi was called on to finish it. Because of its painting cycle and its being both famous and influential of its period, it is sometimes called the Sistine Chapel of the early Renaissance. Let's examine the fresco in a little more detail. Starting at the upper left is Masaccio's expulsion from the Garden of Eden. Note the energy, movement, and unprecedented emotional realism. Contrast this with Masolino's delicate and decorative image of Adam and Eve before the fall, painted on the opposite wall. The Tribute of Money is the most famous painting in the chapel on the upper left-hand wall, and it's a three-part narrative, with the figures of Christ, Peter, and the apostles, largely attributed to Masaccio. It's the story taken from Matthew 17, verses 24-27, of Peter and the temple tax collector. On the left side, Peter gets the coin from the mouth of the fish, and on the right pays the tax collector. The whole idea is related to the first income tax in Florence, the catasto, at about this time. The importance of the painting lies in the depiction of the humanity of Christ, shown in his human features and being at the same height as the apostles. It is a revolutionary rejection of the hierarchical perspective. Underneath the tribute is a two-part painting, the raising from the dead of the son of Theophilus and St. Peter enthroned. It was started by Masaccio but finished by Filippino Lippi. Masaccio's self-portrait is seen in the far right of the painting. On the same wall at the bottom, under the expulsion of Adam and Eve, is St. Paul visiting St. Peter in jail by Filippino Lippi. On the opposite wall, also by Filippino Lippi, is St. Peter being led out of jail by an angel. On the upper wall is St. Peter preaching by Masolino. Compare the almost expressionless faces to those of the lower fresco. St. Peter healing the sick with his shadow by Masaccio. This is the layout of the right back and main right panels, 95% of which were done by either Masaccio or Filippino Lippi, with one possible exception. The upper back panel is St. Peter baptizing the neophytes by Masaccio. St. Peter distributing alms and the death of Ananias, who tried to give a piece of land obtained by fraud to the apostles. He was struck down for his sin. It was painted by Masaccio. Part 1 of the upper main panel, St. Peter healing the cripple, done by Masaccio, although the other two standing figures may have been done by Masolino. Part 2 of the upper panel is St. Peter raising Tabitha from the dead by Masaccio. Part 1 of the lower panel is the crucifixion of St. Peter upside down, so he would not be the same as Christ. Part 2 of the lower panel is St. Peter in disputation with Proconsul Simon Magnus. Both parts were done by Filippino Lippi. It was time to digest this masterpiece. So I backtracked part of the way back to my hotel, back down the Via di Santo Spirito, almost to the Ponte Trinita, stopping at the best restaurant in Firenze, Olio e Convivium. It gave me downtime to decompress from the awe-inspiring Brancacci Chapel. Now look at this. It's a bakery. It has olives and cheeses, panini, and your choice of 4 different prosciuttos, or a medley of all 4. It's indescribable. I went for the medley. The quietly elegant dining room, adorned with bottles of different wines for sale or consumption. My favorite table barely visible at the far, far left. Giovanni, my guide, and I reveled in our fashionably late lunch. For myself, I had renes in brown sauce and vegetables and potatoes. And we both finished off with fragoli di bosco, elegant, wild strawberries with ice cream, coffee and limoncello, all the while entranced by this beautiful, wealthy Swiss woman across the room. Enough for one day. A siesta at the hotel. Then at 5 p.m. in Italy, it's gelato time. Look what the Italians do at the Gelateria dei Medici with gelato. Fruit stuffed with sorbet. A sorbet floral decoration. It puts a banana split to shame. Then, from 7 till bedtime, it's time for la bella figura. Time to take a passeggiata, a leisurely stroll, dressed in style, not high fashion. Less is more. It's time to put on the mask of civility, no matter your maschile, femminile, contadino, criminale, or cialtrone. It doesn't matter whether you're man or woman, peasant, criminal, or scoundrel. It's time for la bella figura. She's it. Sophia is the epitome of la bella figura, no matter what she wears. She has the simplest of tastes. She's always satisfied with the best. So the day ends, again with olio e convivium. Why not? And a drink atop the Hotel Pitti Palace with my good friend Gian Andrea. Dunque. E allora.